Hey everyone, this is M.I Crowley, and you are watching Metal Insider's Newsroom with me, M.I Crowley. Today we're going to look back to when we caught up with Wilson and spoke to Chad when the group were here in Brooklyn, New York, headlining St. Vitus on October 29th. These Detroit hard rockers have been pretty busy promoting their new album, Tasty Nasty, as they are hitting the road again next month with Steel Panther. Let's talk to Chad.
Hey, how you doing, M.I Crowley? I'm Chad Nicefield from the band Wilson.
Hey, what's up, Chad? In another interview, you had mentioned that you were going to call things quits before making Tasty Nasty. What made you guys decide to push forward and deliver a record that has a lot of 90s and 2000s influence?
Well, Crowley, I don't think we were going to ever call it quits per se. We had a member our original member that was going to be leaving the band post creation of the record. He changed his mind after hearing the beautiful masterpiece that became Tasty Nasty, and we decided to continue on as a band. We went through a lot of changes to get to that point, both internally as people and externally musically in how we delivered our message. And I feel like what came from that was a whole new set of life values, things that we want to achieve, and goals and dreams and all of that. So it breathed new life into us, for sure.
Was the recording process different than your prior efforts?
Much. We were working with a producer that totally got us as human beings, that got our DNA, that allowed us to experiment and really pulled out the human nature that we had inside of us as people, and we got to put that on a record. On top of that, we did recording a little bit differently in the past than we had previously done on some of our other records, where everybody was involved, much from the writing process to the recording process. And what came of that was 11 songs of incredible excess and fun.
What have been some of your challenges since your return?
Finding that place again, I'd have to say. Going back to the exact reason, when you're throwing it all against the wall, in an effort to let it all out, sometimes it's hard for you to find that same exact footing and balance you were in that moment of life. So trying to find a place to bring that whole thing full circle every single day out here after you've made a record, a year ago, can be somewhat challenging, but luckily we have a really great support system within our band, and we constantly remind ourselves exactly why we are a band and why we are doing this and why we made this record and what we're out here trying to achieve. It's very, very, very easy for us to remember once we're in a room with everybody and the people start to file in and we get to play those songs live.
With Tasty Nasty having a bright and shiny approach, was this more as a punk rock version for metal?
If you were to ask me, I think that everything about our band is punk rock, whether you want to believe it or not, because the incredible thing about Art Wilson is that we truly just don't give a fuck, Mr. Crowley. And that's the ethos that I believe that I at least have started to subscribe to when when my mind started to absorb what punk rock really was for me as a kid. Moving forward from that, I found that the typical attire from the outside to the inside of where you're wearing your emotions as a metalhead is old and outdated, and the ethos that it stands upon is crumbling every single moment because they're holding on to this idea of the way that it used to be. And we're here to tell you, fuck the way that it used to be. We're going to do it this way now.
Did I hear that correctly?
Fuck the way it used to be. And I don't say it in a way that like it wasn't a great period of time for music, culture, but everything moves on. The world keeps spinning, whether you want to believe it does or it doesn't. It's still going to keep spinning. You're never going to be in the same place at the same time ever, ever, ever again. From this moment forward to that moment forward to that moment forward. And for you to hold on to a piece of excitement without trying to find another piece of excitement out there, it really puts a pin in a piece of fabric that is just trying to blow in the wind, and eventually it's going to rip to shreds.
True, but apparently I'm stuck to this chair.
Yeah, well, You should probably figure out a way to get your ass out of it.
One day, it took me 10 years to speak. Progress. The music world has been faced with a lot of major losses over the last few years. Did the overall sadness influence you guys to make a high energy and positive album as well?
You know, I never really thought about it like that, but I'm sure somewhere inside of us creating the record that, you know, we had people who influenced our entire beings pass away during the creation of that record, and I can't lie and say that that wasn't something that we didn't pay attention to. I mean, a death in the musical community like that, it ripples forever. Luckily, we have their art in that moment in time that we talked about to look back upon and appreciate and pull things from for the future. So yeah, maybe.
What is your opinion about merging different styles of music together? Like hip hop, metal, punk, pop, all that shit.
I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary for the metal genre to exist, continue to exist, the rock genre to continue to exist, because like I said, time moves on, and when time moves on, new people come into the picture, and they'll grow up, and they'll find their own ways, just like you did or I did when I was a 13, 14-year-old kid rebelling from what my parents thought I should be doing, or finding my own way in life. Well, it's happening every single day, and you might not get it now, but just think about how that sounds. You sound exactly like your folks when they were looking at you when you were 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever it may or may not be, when you were finding your own way and they just didn't get it. You're like the old fart that stinks up the whole fucking room.
What dark and heavy bands do you listen to?
I don't listen to Meshuggah,
No Meshuggah?
though I can appreciate the intricate time signatures and layering of and what they brought to the. I'm only saying this because I know that my bass player is going to hate me if he watches this, because he loves Meshuggah, and I was just commenting on social media about how my least favorite part of touring is when James gets to drive, because it's always at night and he's always playing Meshuggah records on repeat when everybody's trying to sleep, mostly me. So outside of Meshuggah, I like shit that scares the fucking literally the shit out of me. Like when I listen to like a Code Orange record, or even throwing it into like as far as heavy goes. I mean, heavy's a perspective to me. It's not a sound, and I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say is you don't get to like describe what's heavy and what's not heavy, because human emotion in general can be the heaviest of heavy metal that could ever exist. Pain, heartbreak, all of that. With that being said, I think that the best type of metal is the metal that I can purely feel the pain, the terror, and the absolute disgust in. So from the older walks of life to the newer walks of life, I would say from Pantera to Code Orange, those are the Lamb of God. Those are the acts that I would typically put on when I'm going to turn to heavy metal, Turnstile. I don't think they're heavy metal, but they got a heavy thing going on. Those sort of acts, for me in particular, are what I find to be heavy.
You guys have a lot of 90s influences. In your opinion, what are the worst bands that came out from the 90s?
You know, if you were to ask Chad when I was 14 or 15, I would have probably said Chumbawamba. But if you ask Chad now, it's not Chumbawamba. Because if you actually listen to their discography, it's they're an incredibly perspective. I mean, they have incredible perspective, and they're super punk rock. I would have to say the worst band for me to come out of the 90s, man, the worst. I fucking hate Pearl Jam. I don't know why I fucking hate Pearl Jam, but I fucking hate Pearl Jam. I would have to say the worst band for me to come out, and I don't get it. Maybe I think there's some great tunes in there, but I don't get the whole thing. So Pearl Jam, I fucking don't like Pearl Jam.
All right. What's your plans for next year?
Kyle, do we have any plans for next year?
Well, Chad, we were going to tour with Pearl Jam, but it seems that they just got wind of what you just said.
Fuck it.
So, you're out of the band.
I can see the headlines now. Eddie Vedder fronting Wilson, changing its name to Journey. Sorry. Continue.
Eddie Vedder will be taking my place in the future with our tour with Pearl Jam. We have after this tour is over, we go out with Steel Panther. After Steel Panther, we do the Shiprock Music Cruise, which we're very excited. It's year 10 of that cruise. And we'll continue to tour, obviously, and put out some more singles and keep riding the wave that is Tasty Nasty.
You guys definitely pair well with Steel Panther.
Yeah, we've toured with them before. It's a good time. Those guys are awesome.
Anything else you'd like to add or say to your fans?
So good to see you today. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you soon.
Awesome.
Well, the pleasure's always mine. Just remember that. I will always have all of the pleasure.
Chad, you will always have the pleasure.
M.I Crowley. I will always have all the pleasure.
Thank you. It was great speaking to you. You guys rock. And that's Wilson. Check out our recap from their show at the link below. Until next time, I am M.I Crowley, signing off.